And welcome to my channel. Today's class is all about investment property Ind-AS 40. So we are starting off with FR revision series. So this will definitely help you for the November exams. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So first of all, when you purchase any asset, you will determine its classification based on its usage, for what purpose you are using the asset. So in case if you are using the property for future use, for capital appreciation or for rentals, then that will become your investment property. Otherwise, in case if you are using that asset for your day-to-day business, or for purchase and for supply of goods and services, then in that case that will become your property, plant and equipment. Otherwise, if you're purchasing some goods for reselling, then that will become your inventory. So then Ind-AS 2 will be applicable in that case. So that is what I've given here: Ind-AS 40, Ind-AS 69, Ind-AS 2. Okay, so investment property में ना दो चीज़, if you're giving it for rentals or for capital appreciation, only in these two cases no investment property. And one more thing here in investment property is only land and building or both, only this will come under investment property. Rest all assets will not come under investment property. So in case if it's a land, building or both, and that have been given for either for rental purpose, whether you have given those assets on rental basis or you kept them for capital appreciation, like for to sell it in the future. So in these two cases, only in these two cases, that will be treated as investment property. Okay. And Ind-AS 16 क्या बोलता है, owner occupied property. So if you purchased any asset and you're using that in your business and in your day-to-day business, and at the same time you're using a machinery or any other asset, okay, for supply of goods and services, okay, in your business if you are using it, then that will be treated as property, plant and equipment, and Ind-AS 16 में आ जाता है वो, ठीक है. And then suppose any asset is there, you purchased it only to resell it. Okay, you can purchase, redevelop and sell, even that will also be treated as inventory. ठीक है. If you're purchasing it to resell it, then that will come under Ind-AS 2 inventory standard will applicable. Okay, now in rental, no, there are two types of rentals that we will study under Ind-AS 116 leases chapter. Okay, one is operating lease and the other one is finance lease. Okay, now I own an asset and I've given it on operating lease, then also it will be treated as investment property only, since operating lease is nothing but I'm getting a rent. Okay, but in case of finance lease, no, when I'm giving it on a finance lease, I have to de-recognize in my books. The other party, that is lessee, will recognize ROU asset and ROU liability. In case if you have done Ind-AS 116, it will be easy for you to understand. Okay, so in case of operating lease only, it will be treated as investment property and Ind-AS 40 standard will be applicable. Okay, now the second case is, now I've purchased a property, I'm not using it for business, I've not given that on rental basis also. So in that case, no, that land or building is vacant. So even in that case also it will be treated as investment property. Even if the building is vacant, uska capital appreciation ho raha hai, each and every day the value of that building is increasing, then it will become an investment property under standard Ind-AS 40. Okay, suppose I'm running a business, I have given some quarters to my employees. Okay, they are staying in those buildings. So since I've given it to my employees and that is for my business, so then it will be treated as property, plant and equipment, and Ind-AS 16 will be applicable in that case. Okay, till here, no, there are few questions in the study material. Definitely you will be able to answer those questions. If you liked it, please do like the video and subscribe to the channel. Okay, and then the other one is dual use property. Okay, in case of dual use property is where there is a property, I'm using it for both the purpose, I'm using it for my business, I'm giving it on rent also. For an example, no, there is 15 floors. Okay, 15 floors hai. Okay, in this 15 floors, no, 10 floors is for rent, and then the other 5 floors is for office. Okay, now you will have to see whether I'm able to split it, in the sense, whether I'm able to transfer these 10 floors without any restriction. Okay, if I'm able to transfer the 10 floors, okay, to any other person and still use this 5 floors for my office, then in that case, no, you can treat this 10 floors rent as investment property, that is Ind-AS 40 will be applicable here. and in case of office you will treat this as 16 property plant and equipment. Okay, so the thing that you need to see is whether you are able to sell it uh, independently. If there is any restriction saying that all the 15 floors have to be sold, then in that case you cannot treat it as investment property, you have to treat it as property plant and equipment. Okay, so you need to see here is whether you can sell it or not. Okay, and then the other one is ancillary services. So now I own a building where first one I've given it for rental. Okay, apart from rental services I'm providing other services like maintenance also. Okay, some maintenance services I'm giving here. In this case, no, you have to see if the maintenance services, the services that I'm providing as maintenance is significant or not. Okay, if the services that I'm providing is significant or not. But here in this case, if I'm giving it on rental basis, some security services I'm providing, that will be insignificant. Okay, since the other services, ancillary services, are insignificant, rental will be treated as investment property and Ind AS 40 will be applicable. Suppose the same building I'm using it for hotel purpose and I'm giving other ancillary services like security, maintenance, whatnot. So in this case, the services that I'm providing will be significant. Okay, so in this case you cannot treat that building hotel as investment property. It has to be treated as as property plant and equipment only. Okay, and here you can also see that hotel might be their business, like there's Oyo, it is their business. You cannot say I'm giving it on rent, per day basis or hourly basis. You cannot say that. So that is their business. Now this building is used for their business, so obviously it will be property plant and equipment. If you're using it for your business, property plant and equipment. But if you're giving it on rental basis, you need to see whether the other services, ancillary services provided are significant or not. Okay, property leased to group entity. Okay, this is another concept where the holding company has given to its own subsidiary on rental basis. ठीक है, ऑपरेटिंग लीज करके अपने सब्सिडरी को रेंटल बेसिस पे दे दिया. ठीक है, बट सब्सिडरी इज यूजिंग दैट बिल्डिंग it for its business purpose. Okay, now how do you determine it? Individual financial statements में in holding company का individual financial statements में you will show it as rental. Subsidiary के individual financial statements में you will show it as PPE. Okay, since they are using it for business. Okay, now from the group point of view, when you are consolidating from the group point of view, you have to see as a third party, come outside of it and see ultimately for what purpose that building is being used. तो आपको आंसर मिल जाता कि अल्टीमेटली उन लोग अपने बिजनेस के लिए यूज़ कर रहे हैं, होल्डिंग हो या सब्सिडरी, दोनों का एक ही है. इफ़ दे आर यूजिंग इट फॉर द बिजनेस, प्रॉपर्टी प्लांट एंड इक्विपमेंट आ जाता. ओके, आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. When do you recognize an investment property? Simple, boss. First thing is that when the economic benefits flow to the enterprise and when you are reliably able to measure the cost. In these two cases, you will recognize the investment property. तो अभी कॉस्ट में क्या क्या जुड़ते हैं, परचेज कॉस्ट जुड़ते हैं एंड देन एनी अदर कॉस्ट विच इज़ डायरेक्टली एट्रीब्यूटेबल टू परचेज इट. सो दिस इज ईजी व्हेन यू डू द क्वेश्चंस, यू कैन डू इट. बट यहाँ पे थोड़े एक्सपेंसेस विच यू शुड नॉट कैपिटलाइज, ऑल दिस विल गो अंडर P&L. दिस विल बी कैपिटलाइज्ड. ओके, दैट्स द डिफरेंस. ओके, नाउ स्टार्टअप कॉस्ट. अगर स्टार्टअप कॉस्ट है, in case the startup cost was required to bring that asset into condition, then you will capitalize it. Otherwise this entire capital cost will go to P&L. Operating losses also will go to P&L, and then any abnormal wastage happening, repairs, maintenance stuff will go to P&L. Deferred cost, यहाँ पे I'll explain this with an example. So in deferred cost, nothing, they'll give you two options. If you're paying it now, pay 100 rupees now. If you're paying it after 1 year, pay 120 rupees. Okay, after 1 year. तो इसका मतलब क्या, इन दोनों केस में cost is 100 only in both the cases. Okay, in the first case it is 100, but in the second case cost is 100, but there is finance cost also. ठीक है, extra 20, this will go to P&L. I hope it is clear. ठीक है, फिर से मैं एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ. एग्जाम्पल है तो where there is a condition that if you're paying now, pay only 100 rupees, but if you're paying in the future, pay 120 rupees. Okay, so in both the cases the cost is 100 only. Okay, but in the second case what is happening, there is an element of finance, 20 rupees that you will not capitalize, that you will charge it to P&L account. Simple as that. Okay, always remember investment property is measured at cost model only. यहाँ पे रिवैल्यूएशन नहीं होता है, ठीक है. फर्स्ट कॉस्ट मॉडल एंड देन ईच एंड एवरी ईयर यू विल डिप्रिशिएट नॉर्मली ओनली. इम्पेयरमेंट 36 भी अप्लीकेबल होता है. यू नो वी विल स्टडी इन इंडिया 36 व्हाट आर द रूल्स, बट इंडिया 36 इज ऑल्सो अप्लीकेबल. इम्पेयरमेंट इज ऑल्सो अप्लीकेबल फॉर इन्वेस्टमेंट प्रॉपर्टी. ठीक है, यहाँ पे रिवैल्यूएशन का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं आता जैसे इंडिया 16 में होता है. ठीक है, fair value not measurable. There will be some times, you know, even though you're using cost model, most of the times, no sorry, even though you're showing investment property as cost model, you will have to disclose its fair value as per the standard. Sometimes what happens is you will not be able to determine the fair value. In that case, no, you will have to see in case if you're not able to determine the fair value, first give a description about the investment property and then explain the reasons why you're not able to determine the fair value. And then third one, no, just give an estimate of range कि so and so range में fair value रह सकता. So these three, no, you have to disclose when fair value is not reliably measurable. So you have to disclose it. Ideally, no, you will show investment property as cost only, but disclosure has to be given like what is its fair value. In case if you're not able to determine the fair value, then you will have to give this disclosure. You will have to give a range. Ideally you have to give a range ki so and so limit mein it will fall. And then there's only one exception, that is in case of construction. What happens in case of construction is that yes, so in case of construction, no, they will say you know fair value can be measured only when the construction is complete. Okay, so in that case, no, they have given an option where fair value can be measured when it is reliably measurable or when construction is completed, whichever is earlier. Okay, so only for construction, remember. All other cases you have to give this description, you have to give this disclosure, but for this, no, you will have to wait and see कि when you are able to reliably measure it or when the construction is completed, whichever is earlier. So transfer, now there could be chances that I'm using an investment property now, but in future I can change that into I can use that building in my business also. Now there is a transfer, okay, from investment property to, say if you see your owner occupied property, from investment property to owner occupied property, or from investment property to inventory here. So all these scenarios. So in this case, you all you have to remember is that the transfer happens at the carrying value. You can transfer it, but it will happen at the carrying value. Now suppose, take an example, I am using it is an investment property. Now it is classified as investment property. Later on it is converted into the usage, like I'm selling it now, I'm using it for selling it in the ordinary course of business, then it will be inventory. Earlier I used to charge depreciation, now I cannot charge depreciation because since it's inventory and Ind AS 2 is applicable. Okay, so the entire standard in Ind AS 2 is applicable. Now you should account as per this standard only, and then the value, when you're transferring the value, should be as per carrying value only. There won't be any changes in that. And then the last second, I guess, so this is derecognition. You will derecognize an asset only in case of sale or when you have given it on finance lease. When you are selling the asset, you will remove it from your books of accounts, and then when you are giving it on finance lease also, you will remove it from your books of accounts, right? So that is the derecognition part. Disclosure is nothing but, you know, every time when you're measuring investment property as per cost model, you will have to give it fair value also. So that is what it is talking about. First, tell its accounting policy, that is cost model. Okay, and then the criteria of distinguish between, see, you know, when you are, this is investment property and this is owner occupied property. So what is the criteria with which you are able to determine कि ये investment property है और ये owner occupied property है? You have to give the details कि because of which we are treating this as investment property, okay, or because of which we are treating this as owner occupied property. And then जब fair value determine करते हैं ना, तो you will have to see to what extent fair value is determined by a professional, वो भी देना पड़ता कि प्रोफेशनल से करे या नॉन प्रोफेशनल से करे. अगर प्रोफेशनल से करे तो कितना एक्सटेंट तक प्रोफेशनल का है, प्रोफेशनल डिटरमाइन करा. ओके, the end. I hope this video was helpful. Please do share it with your friends, like it, and we are coming with more videos. Please do watch it one or more 2 times. Definitely, these kind of questions, it looks easy, but when it comes to 2 marks in the exam, we might end up doing mistakes. Please do watch it 1 or 2 times, and you will be able to do questions now. And definitely there are 2 or 3 questions which are kind of tough in this chapter, and I'll be uploading those videos as well. Thanks so much. Love you all.